How are you? I hope you're well. Welcome to Shelf Improvement. I'm Cheryl. I hope you're soaking up the last bits of summer wherever you are and that it is glorious. Sally Rooney's new book, Beautiful World, Where Are You?, has just been released. I had never read any Sally Rooney until recently, and after I really felt like I needed to get some stuff off my chest. So this is that video. I didn't read Beautiful World, Where Are You? I read Conversations with Friends. But whether you've read Sally Rooney or not, I hope you'll stick around because I think anyone who loves books can chime in on some of what I want to talk about. And I hope Sally Rooney fans can help me get a better understanding of some things I'm not sure about. This book really provoked me, and I think it is good to be provoked because it helps you distill your own ideas and sort of put them to the test to see how they hold up. So I am putting in a plug for reading books you hate. Maybe not that often, maybe not on purpose, but I think it's good to do. Not that I necessarily hated this book, I'm not saying that, but I spent most of this book exasperated, baffled, and a little worried because on the one hand, this is just a book, right? It's just media we consume for the purpose of entertainment. Maybe that's where it ends. I don't think so, though, because I think the huge popularity of Sally Rooney as an author, and because she writes characters with some fundamental things in common, and because she's been longlisted for like the Booker Prize, the Women's Prize, I think her books are recognized as having some kind of cultural impact, and I'm wondering what that impact is, because it doesn't seem like this novel has anything good to say about women. It's not that the characters are flawed. I like flawed characters. I like morally great characters. I'm not looking at the moral aspects of this book at all. I'm just saying that her books in general and Conversations with Friends in particular aren't on the side of women, I don't think. And the other point I want to hit is like the literary aspects in this novel in particular, to try to understand why this is considered a good novel. I don't get it. And I don't mean that in like a sarcastic or dismissive way. I literally do not understand, and I would like to understand. So let's see if we can figure out some of this stuff together. All right, let's talk about the literary aspects of this novel, because there were some good things in it. There wasn't really a strong sense of setting, which is unfortunate because it does take place in Dublin, and you really don't get a sense of that. It could have taken place anywhere. I want to give Sally Rooney the benefit of the doubt because that might be on purpose, because the main character, Frances, does sort of feel unmoored. She is pretty clueless about things outside herself. Like, she even dissociates and stuff. So maybe it was done on purpose. Even given that, I think it could have been done better. Plot. Stuff happens, but there's really no forward motion. There's no real growth in the characters. So it's kind of a lateral plot, I guess. I'm not a plot-driven reader, so that was fine for me. If you're a plot-driven reader, this book is not for you. I can pretty much guarantee it. If you're a reader who enjoys adults behaving like children, I would pick this up immediately. The prose is pretty spare, which I think worked. There are a few very lovely turns of phrase in here. I like Sally Rooney's writing style. The dialogue was very good. No one in this novel had a clue about how to communicate, and it takes talent, I think, to write characters who repeatedly barely miss each other. And I had more patience for this kind of miscommunication because it was born out of flaws in the characters. It wasn't like some manufactured situation or, something that was engineered in order to create miscommunication. And, of course, the problem with this kind of miscommunication in a contemporary novel is that, if you're reading Jane Austen or something, nobody's expressing their feelings, and everybody knows that nobody else is expressing their feelings, as opposed to Sally Rooney's novel, when people are supposed to be more open. It just creates a lot more problems if you're not communicating. So, the characters, Sally Rooney does a really good job of showing us who Frances is without telling us. She has Frances hyper-focused on herself, things like how a chair feels against her leg, or how she practices certain mannerisms, or she wonders if somebody's looking at her. There are just a myriad of moments like these in the book that really, illustrate who Frances is. And almost all the inner monologues are about herself or about another person as it relates to her. A long time ago, I read Churchill's biography, and a line from his diary kept popping up in my head while I was reading this. Hell is an endless conversation with yourself about yourself. That line blew me away. I've never forgotten it. And Sally Rooney definitely has put Frances in hell. The other characters were a bit spotty. I think, again, I want to give Sally Rooney the benefit of the doubt because, we only get Frances's point of view. So that makes it somewhat difficult to, fully know the other characters because she's mainly thinking about herself. On the other hand, I don't think they were very well written. And this novel is mainly about relationships among these characters. You can't really pull that off without good fleshed out characters. As a literary device, I like the choice of only showing Frances's point of view because it really adds another level of kind of self-indulgence to the story. As a reader, I would really have liked a break from Frances because she is hard to sit with for 300 pages. But, a multi-person point of view would have completely changed this book. So, okay, yes, thanks, Captain Obvious. All right. I want to give you a quick synopsis of the story. No spoilers. Everything I'm about to tell you is pretty much on the inside flap of the book. Main character is Frances. She is a college student. She has a part-time job at a publisher's, and she lives rent-free in an apartment that her uncle owns. Her best friend is Bobby, and she and Frances dated in high school. Bobby is well off. She is gay. Frances is bisexual. On the first page, they meet Melissa, who is a photographer and a writer, and she's doing a piece on Frances and Bobby because they perform poetry at pubs. And slowly they start hanging out with Melissa and her husband, Nick. And then Bobby develops a crush on Melissa, and Frances develops a crush on everybody, develops a crush on everybody else. And they start to socialize more, and then Nick and Frances start to email and text, and eventually they start an affair. So that's pretty much the synopsis in a nutshell. Let's talk about Frances. Rooney captures a lot of the pitfalls of being 21. Frances takes this to a whole other level, just to the tippy top. She is the Mount Everest of neurosis. I had a lot of strong feelings about Frances. I was mad. I was sad. I pretty much went through the 7 stages of grief with Frances. It was just Frances and me and Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and we were going through it. I am scared a little bit and a little pissed that a novel which is supposed to have its finger on the pulse of millennial women, which is a term that is used unironically in every Sally Rooney article. These novels contain so much hatred for women and just for people in general. And it presents women in a way which is so emotionally stunted. It was upsetting to me because I feel like this is supposed to be some kind of representation. And I wanted to be fair in my criticism, so I did read and watch a bunch of positive reviews, and what I came away with, it seems like people who like Sally Rooney's books just enjoy the drama and the messiness of the characters. It's just a lark. They're just approaching Sally Rooney as sort of a leveled up beach read, which I think is fine. However, she has been longlisted for some prestigious prizes. There is a huge and very devoted following, so I think that something else is going on here besides a good beach read, and I'm not sure what it is. Maybe as I'm talking about this, I can kind of figure it out. Maybe you can help me if you're a Sally Rooney fan, or if you've read any Sally Rooney. Help me. If you haven't read the book, I just want to give you a little sample of Frances. A little Frances sampler. Not as good as chocolate. Hang on, let me find this quote. So she is talking with Nick at one point, and she says, you don't like having sex when you're drunk, I said. I think it's probably better for everyone if I'm not. What, like performance issue? I don't have any complaints. No, you're very easy to please, he said. I didn't like him saying that about me, even if it was true. Not really, I said. I just know you like it when I lie there telling you how great you are. He grimaced and said, that's harsh. Frances, are you 12? If you don't like what he said, just say something. Or if you can't say that your feelings are hurt, which I totally get, sometimes you don't want to get into it. Sometimes you don't feel comfortable enough to express yourself. Have the maturity to just move on and not intentionally try to hurt somebody you're supposed to care about. And these kinds of weird mind games are rampant throughout the book with all the characters as they interact with each other. I mean, she doesn't really trust even the people closest to her, like Bobby, who's supposed to be her best friend and former lover. She doesn't tell her anything about herself, like what she's thinking or feeling, what's going on in her life. Nothing about her health problems or her dad's alcoholism or her affair with Nick. Is this supposed to be somewhat representative? Because it is super popular. She doesn't allow herself to be known by anybody, and she really doesn't try to get to know anybody else. She's constantly pushing people away. I want to find this other quote. I had to check out an e-copy of this on my computer so that I could... Okay, so at one point she's pushing Nick away and she says, maybe we shouldn't see each other anymore, which of course is totally not what she wants. And then he leaves because she tells him to. And then she thinks after he's gone, she says, I thought about all the things I had never told Nick about myself, and I started to feel better, as if my privacy extended all around me, like a barrier protecting my body. I was a very autonomous and independent person with an inner life that no one had ever touched or perceived. Is this supposed to represent millennial feminism? I know that Frances, she's not supposed to be a role model. Obviously, we're not supposed to want to emulate her. But these kinds of characters in Sally Rooney's works are held up in some way. Maybe people don't admire them, but they are elevated somehow, and I don't know exactly how. I don't know. Maybe it's like the torture genius thing. If it is the torture genius thing, I mean, we see plenty of torture. Where's the genius? Nothing in this book seems very genius. Like, even when they're talking about more intellectual issues, like Frances and Bobby are Marxist, because of course they are. And so they talk about the redistribution of wealth, and Frances is saying that she really never wants to get a job. And of course, they're both financially secure, and I'm sure that's done on purpose by Sally Rooney to show the hypocrisy of the privileged. And then people all over the internet lost their minds about class issues in this book. Guys, this is not new. It doesn't even seem especially smart or very interesting. So I don't see a torture genius, and I don't understand the appeal. And I want to talk about something else which really doesn't have any probably relevance or bearing on anything else I'm talking about, but I just want to get it off my chest, and that's what this video is for. I want to talk about Frances's relationship with her dad. There aren't really any spoilers here. This is just, there's no major plot points or anything. I'll leave this up, so in case you don't want to know anything about the book, you can fast forward to when this is no longer on the screen. So Frances's parents are divorced, and her dad is an alcoholic. It's a strained relationship. She goes out every once in a while to stay the weekend with her mom, and then at that point she'll usually pop in to see her dad when she's there. He's not taking great care of himself or his apartment. He's in the deep throes of alcoholism. The first time we see him, he is eating dinner out of a brown paper in his apartment. There's trash overflowing in the kitchen bin. The dishes are piled up, etc. Then quite a bit of time elapses in the book before we see him again. She keeps trying to get a hold of him on the phone, especially at one point when she needs money. And then she goes to see him again, and this time he's not at home. The fridge is open, food's on the floor, there's maggots in the trash, the whole place is a disaster. She tries to call him, he doesn't pick up, and then she proceeds to do nothing. Now, it's not her job to take care of her dad, obviously. And I know when you're in your 20s, your mind is on your own stuff. I went to college in the state where my grandmother lived, and reluctantly, I would drive across the state to spend the weekend with her sometimes if my mom nagged me, merely out of obligation. So yeah, somewhat typical and crappy behavior. I get that. But if I had walked into my grandmother's house and it was in a state like that, you can be damn sure I would have followed up on her health and safety. Frances doesn't help him, and she doesn't enlist any other family members to help him. You would not treat a dog like that. And it's not just that is upsetting and shitty behavior. It's that there's no purpose to it in the book. It's pretty much just gratuitous. I kind of felt like the whole novel was gratuitous, to be honest with you. And I think this is my main problem with the book. Not like the cultural influence of the book or Sally Rooney's popularity, but this novel itself. I don't know what the point is. Not that a book has to have a point. That's not exactly what I mean. Like, I read in this interview with Sally Rooney did with the Irish Times, and she said, what might disappoint readers about the book is that they might want a conventional hero's journey where Frances undergoes certain experiences and learns something and then comes out a different person. Listen, Sally, we do not care about a traditional trajectory. I think you can have a book where the character doesn't change. Maybe the world changes around them. There has to be some kind of movement in a novel. There have to be stakes of some kind. The character has to really want something, even if it's just something tiny. It's the desire that the character has that propels the novel forward. Frances doesn't want anything. That I could see. Or if the character's desires are not a prime mover, then there has to be some kind of tension between opposing ideas or opposing motivations or opposing somethings. Like, if a character is going to have a fatal flaw, let's say, there has to be some kind of consequence for their actions. Even though Frances is in a tragic pickle, there is nothing tragic about her because this novel doesn't contain any of that. I feel like I'm not explaining myself super well. I am not educated about literary stuff. So I hope you're getting the gist of what I'm getting at. Maybe you can help explain to me what I'm trying to say. Oh, Lord. Yeah. So those are my mishmash thoughts about conversations with friends and the popularity of Sally Rooney and some of my concerns. And we can talk more about this in the comments. Let me know if you see things differently. Or if you don't have a comment but you want to let me know that you stopped by, leave me the owl emoji. Thank you so much for listening to me blather on. I really appreciate having somebody to talk to. I will see you Friday. Bye.